Okay, so I'm Feifei Qian. I did my postdoc with Dan back in 2016 through 2019, and I'm currently at University of Southern California. So when Dan hired me, basically what happened is back then I was not really consider myself a roboticist, whatever that means, as you're trying to figure out.
We can't
but
hear on Zoom.
Oh, you can't hear me? Oh. Let's see.
That was a different setting.
Okay.
She said, "Sorry, we're late," and then.
Yeah, it didn't mismatch. I said, sorry, I was late. And I said my name, which was not as important. So, and the important thing was, here we go. Back before, when I first met Dan, I was not a roboticist. At the time, I was considering myself, half granular physicist, which, play with sand, which, sounds a lot of fun than robotics, right? And also have a, I would say, locomotion science. So basically study, how biological systems move, and some of the very simple robots, you guys probably don't even consider it robots. It's like toy version of robots. But that was me at the time from my PhD training. So when I met Dan was like, oh, so you know something about sand, you sort of know something about locomotion, great. We are looking for someone to do this project called locomotion for desert research. Sounds perfect. And then, talk to me, of course, about the scientific value. Basically, the project say, hey, we want to send the robots to the desert to help geoscientists collect data about the desert environment to help them understand better about how desertification happens, all the great stuff for society. At that time, I was like, oh, Dan, that sounds great. I would love to do that. What Dan didn't know at the time, what was really going on in the back of my head was like, oh, so we are going to have a robot that can carry all my bags in the desert, or go to this beautiful place and potentially also carry me. Why not, right? I mean, who would say no to that? And as a non-robotics person, before we started working on real robots, this is your imagination. The robot is capable of anything. Like literally, it's just like going to all the forests and the hills, carries all your bags, carries you and your kids, and everything. And that was I was like, yeah, yes, oh yeah. And until my first field trip that I was supposed to organize and actually collect data at Y Sands Desert in New Mexico. I didn't even know where New Mexico was at the time, but it was beautiful. The only problem is that when we actually go, here's the reality. Instead of a robot carrying me, it was, first of all, it was me carrying the robot and, up hills, but 5 seconds later, I was obviously not prepared for that. So my lab mates, thanks very much still to Sonia and Paul, who you just met. They were carrying the robots, the bags that the robots were supposed to be carrying, and potentially me sometimes. So again, thanks, Sonia and Paul. I really appreciate all those carrying. And I think Turner too. So many people count me with carrying through my postdoc time. That was really greatly appreciated. So that was the reality, and at the time I was like, oh my God, I didn't really realize that the first training, the first improvement I got in Colab was physically instead of mentally. I had to work on my finger strength. If you have ever worked with Rex, at least the same version that I work with, you have to really pull the battery out of the robot. Like that's, you have to probably be able to do pull-up with your fingers to be able to do that. At least, that's what I was told. So I work on my finger strength. You have to obviously, all the climbing skills. I think Sonia had a video. I was trying to find the clip of me raising the robot on a sand dune. And, as a shameful human being, I lost to the robot, which great for robotics, but sad for me. And, very, as a person who, I was pretty confident of myself in many things, but I lost to a robot on a sand dune in my physical capability. So really, the first few years in the core lab, I was really improving or getting training physically. But that has also been, my motivation. everything. So, I look at the questions that you guys gave me, say, hey, how has working in collab or my time with Dan changed my career path, everything. So, this is my motivation to improve robotic mobility ever since then. Folks, it's important if you don't want to carry the robot in the sand dune. It was hard. Welcome to join me if you ever get a chance to go to beautiful places. We are still going to have a couple of field trips, so you'll get to experience that. But since I was so motivated by that, a couple of things I'm currently doing, making some progress. Sending the robot to different environments, and it's doing a little bit better. It can most of the time or sometimes carry itself, which I'm very, very proud of the robot. Also, partially, I would say, inspired by the robot can run faster and better than me on sand dune, but what I, as a human being, is like I grab on anything I could grab to help myself. So partially inspired by my struggling to use all my hands and feet to grab on rocks and roots to move, I'm now basically trying to teach robots how to take advantage of obstacles or trees and rocks to basically help their motion to move in a complex environment. So those are the two things that, based on my personal and perceptive experience with the robot trying to go to natural environment, seeing how difficult that was, leading to some of these research efforts I'm currently pursuing. The other thing, the training, aside from the physical improvement, mentally, what was happening is, actually today reminds me a lot of some of the experience I had with collab retreat. Many of you, if you have joined with, we basically, so I didn't know what collab retreat was. It's an annual thing that was supposed to sit together and do something we do today. But again, my imagination at the time was, oh, you get unlimited free food for all day long, and that was just great. Until the night before the actual retreat, I got this list of questions from Dan. And essentially, if you can't see the font, its font size is really small. It's all the questions you would avoid thinking about as a researcher or human. For example, I'll read you some of the questions. What accomplishment have you achieved in the past year? Are you the best in the field? And if not, what's the difference? What's keeping you from becoming better? Anyway, so you get the idea. And it goes on and on from the individual level to the group level to the robotics field to the society. So all these trainings are really, when I'm looking back, are the valuable things, just as reluctant as I was, forcing me to think and reflect on, both personal level, research, and also beyond. Really, these reflections of our, responsibilities as researchers, academia, or to the society is one of the very valuable lessons that Dan gave me through my time working with him, that I benefit from not only for my research, but also as a human being and for the life. So thanks, Dan, a lot for that.